So welcome to How to be Digital Wellbeing Leader in 2026. My name is Anastasia, Dr. Anastasia Zuhina, and I have here today with me Carrie Watkins and Katie Brockhurst. Thank you so much for joining. And today we want to talk to you about where the world is going and why we urgently need digital well-being leaders, even if you haven't heard about what that is until this day. I'm going to start with a story. Actually, I spoke to one of our coaches the other day, and she told me that she has been working with a company. And in that company, they had a huge conflict, and she couldn't understand the origin. Up until she tried to find out about the digital habits of one of the key people who were involved in the conflict. And she realized that this person was discussing everything that was going on in the team with ChatGPT and asking ChatGPT what did it think specifically about what this person said and that person said. And guess what ChatGPT was doing? It was actually telling her that she was right all the time, and he was basically fueling her anger, yeah, and making her take a stand against everyone else. So instead of helping resolve the conflict, she was actually, so it was actually fueling it more and more and more. So I'm curious from those who are here, who already maybe works with leaders or is a leader themselves, and where you have been trained to deal with these situations. I'm going to do a little poll. Have you been trained to deal with a situation when all of a sudden your team members start using AI tools and start doing things behind your back? Please answer the poll. As we are living in the very, very interesting times when technology has become the big elephant in the room that we cannot really ignore. And at the same time, very few leaders have been equipped to deal with such situations. Yeah, they wouldn't even guess if they didn't know about how AI is often impacting us. Yeah, and it's actually just a very typical situation that we're going to see more and more of. Yeah, algorithms are already hiring people, interviewing people, and often there is a bias in the program that nobody detects. Already lots of companies are using AI to monitor employees' well-being or their productivity, but nobody talks about that can also affect trust and well-being. So let's see. And not surprisingly, I'm going to add the poll and comment. And what we see here, we see some leaders, people working with leaders and curious, and people, nobody from our audience had formal training, which doesn't surprise me at all. Yes, some people haven't not been trained and some have heard something. So we're in a very interesting situation. Yeah, don't feel bad about yourself. That's why you're here. And I have been being in this situation myself about 10 years ago, just started a little bit earlier. I worked in senior position in London for a digital marketing agency, and my job was to convince people to use more technology. I worked for a major tech brand, and at the same time, I was not good at managing technology myself, so I was checking my phone at night. And in the first week of joining the company, I saw 2 out of 11 people in my team burning out, like really, really serious consequences. And I realized I didn't have any tools. I didn't understand what was going on, but the team was working around the clocks, as it does happen. Long story short, I left the job after a few months, although it was a dream job. I realized that I have to understand where, why tech had such an effect on myself and on others. I had a classic digital burnout, from what I understand now. Ended up getting rid of my smartphone, living without one for a year and a half, and then basically one thing followed the other, and ended up founding Consciously Digital Institute after studying the science of brain, attention, and understanding how people behave online. And I'm joined today by Carrie and Katie, who also had their personal stories of being affected by technology, and I would love them to share these stories with you, please.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Yeah, my name's Kerry. In my previous career for 15 years, used to work in hospitality. So I used to run pubs and nightclubs, and then ended up in a senior position. And then social media became a thing, and I was very interested in that. And that led me to start freelancing as a social media trainer and consultant, and then start a business. So the agency I run now, called Social for Good, has 12 team members. But before I kind of started hiring people and I was just working in social on my own, I very quickly burnt out. I don't think I realized at the time that that was attributed to working in the most distracting place in the world, and realized that burnout was a thing and I needed to manage my time, my well-being. I also had a young daughter, and over a few years she started to reach kind of 10, 11 years old, and I started to become a bit concerned about what does the future look like for her with social media if I'm already burning out as somebody that didn't grow up with tech. So I then studied with Anastasia, and a whole world of information kind of opened up to me that has led me to start a new business as well as my agency called 24/6, which is encouraging people to kind of look at their life, their relationships with technology for a more healthy, kind of balanced life. That's my story in a nutshell.
Thank you, Carrie. Katie, the social media maven.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I got into social media super early. I was working in the music industry, and MySpace was such an amazing disruptive tool for me. And I actually set up an agency in 2007. But it took about 10 years, and I started to realize that not only was I feeling very anxious and always checking for likes, and that, but also that my clients were as well. And I was working particularly within the well-being spaces, and to see my clients suffering with comparison and anxiety that was all coming back to what was happening for them on social media, that was a huge wake-up call for me, and that led me into the Consciously Digital program as well. And now I go out and I speak at events. I speak in well-being spaces. I'm doing the Mind Body Spirit Festival this weekend, but I also now go into schools and work with teens, because it just felt so important that we're helping the next generations coming through. So yeah, that's me too. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. So I want to share with you the chart that seems very important for me. That's a study that was done by CIPD. So some of you who work in HR know this is an organization that unites HR professionals globally, based in the UK, but it's a global one. And they have done a study a couple of years ago looking at what are the greatest risk factors in mental well-being at work. As you know, we're all living the mental well-being crisis, right, globally. And they measured it in the number of absence days per 100 employees per year. When you look at that, so the green means that it has a negative effect. So for example, the more bullying you have, then the more absence days you have, or like the longer working hours. And then the yellow means it's good for well-being, right? So like when you see like a -18, it means actually like the more sense of coherence you have within the team, the better it is for the team. So they're less likely to be away. Make sense so far? Right, if somebody is not clear about what we're speaking about, please write in the chat. Extra questions leave for the Q&A, but about that, please ask. What is interesting for us here, if you think about what's the impact of technology, and if you go over these items one by one, you will see very interesting things. Let's take, for example, bullying, right? We all know cyberbullying, but it's not just that. Tell me, how is the type of behavior when somebody ignores your communication online most of the time? Is this respectful or not? How about when the algorithm is hiring you and you're being interviewed by the algorithm and you have no human person intervening, like an opportunity to ask them something? How do you feel? No respect. How do you feel when there is a senior boss, when you're sitting in a meeting looking at their phone instead of looking at you and you're speaking? Or when you're speaking to in a meeting to 10 people and everyone's screen is off? Or the latest thing is they have all sent their AI bots to the meeting and you're the only human one. I would argue this is also creating a sense of deep insecurity. Long working hours, I don't need to explain to you how technology has contributed us to working 24/7, yeah, and we never stop checking our communication. There was a study that was done in Barcelona that more than 94% of people reply to emails outside of working hours. More than 94%. That's a lot, yeah. Again, what's happening with, for example, job control autonomy when more and more decisions have been taken by AI. Katie, what do you notice as top risk factors in mental well-being from your work experience?
There's a couple of things there that resonate with me. So long working hours, because we work in social media and we're managing social for clients, but we're also obviously using email and Slack and Zoom and Google Meet. When we were doing long working hours, it's so exhausting, and we found we're just so tired at the end of the day that your quality of life in the evening was impacted. So after I learned a lot more about the digital wellbeing space, we did a 4-day week trial with Sussex University in the UK, and we've now been working a 4-day week for 2.5 years. And I haven't had any of my team leave yet, and there are good engagement results. So I think that the positive side of that, by limiting our working hours, has been really beneficial, especially because we are online a lot all day. And as part of our kind of work culture, we make sure people have a lot of autonomy. They can manage when they're doing their work. They're in charge of their own kind of hours. We have flexible hours. They work at a time that makes sense for them. And the other thing that you said about long working hours is often because people have access to emails and everything, so they can work late. Since I burnt out, as I said at the beginning, have led by example. It's like, I will not check my email after I've decided that I'm finishing at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. I will not check Slack. If you need me in an emergency, you can WhatsApp me, but the work apps do not enter my kind of personal life. And it takes a while for other people in my team to kind of get on board with that, because they're young and ambitious and want to work all the time. But I think slowly I'm teaching them that these things are going to make you burn out, and you won't be then at your best for the clients we support. So really interesting to see all of those stats. What about you, Katie?
Thank you, Katie. Just before you share your experience, I want to share a poll, right? Like when you think of your personal usage, that's a question to everyone, of digital tools and technology, how do you feel? Do you feel overwhelmed, stressed, curious, or exhausted, or in control? You can choose different things, or you can write in the chat. I would hope that graduates of CDI feel more in control now. I really hope after a year of exhausted studies. Katie, what about you? What do you see in your work?
Yeah, I mean, particularly with adults who are running business, who are leaders themselves, entrepreneurs, or run small businesses, particularly in the kind of well-being and educational space. They've got online courses and books and things like that. It was the long hours, the effort reward imbalance would come up a lot. They just felt they were always putting so much time into their profile online on social media, but the reward was imbalanced both financially and energetically. And so then the job demands just felt huge, like we were talking about, checking emails late into night, checking numbers, checking sales. It all sort of got tied into this gamification aspect for them that just often led to a feeling of just being really burnt out.
Thank you. And I love this idea how Safa is sharing in the chat. I've kept boundaries for my personal communication as well. My phones go to sleep 1 hour before me. Everyone, if you have it, like a life hack, please share in the chat. It will be great. How do you make sure that your mental well-being is not being affected? Yeah. And we are going to see, let me see. Okay, so we have at least 50% of people stressed and another 16 overwhelmed and another 13 exhausted, which doesn't surprise me. And I guess the rest are graduates of CDI. No, I'm kidding. But that's, look, I mean, honestly, like, I think this is a very typical picture. I would imagine even more, yeah, from the stats that I see from the work we're doing. And I think especially the expectations from ourselves, that like we should be doing this, why am I procrastinating, is really making creating lots of stress. Now, what we don't realize is these are actually costing us, right? We're costing money. It's costing money. It's costing absence days. It's costing productivity. Yeah, probably if you're a small business owner, you know it yourself. On the days you're not working, you're not making money. On the days your team is not working, it's not making money. But this has been happening for a long time now, probably 10, 15 years. But we're going to see something else in the next year. And I want to share with you some of the trends that I see already. And please, Carrie and Kathy, do share your experience, maybe something that you have tested already with your teams or you see with other people. What we see, I increasingly see fewer in-person interactions as companies introduce AI tools and more people asking things quickly, AI and not the coworker, especially when they're working remotely. On one hand, you would say, yeah, that's great, they're not getting distracted. On the other hand, this is absolutely killing, yeah, this very much needed cohesion. Remember here, sense of coherence and cohesion and social support is something that actually has a direct effect on the absence or not, the lack of the absence, and it's dying. We can see that a lot, yeah. AI agents, more and more 2026 will be the year of AI agents. In case you don't know what it is, it's a program, right? Like that they can basically, you can create it within like ChatGPT, or you can, there will be new programs that, for example, can go through your emails and find the most important information. They can prioritize who you should be answering to. They can make, they can schedule certain meetings in your calendar, right, and do things like that. Lots of people are already using them, whether corporates know about it or not. Letting basically third parties, often based outside of the EU, so not subject to EU AI Act, not subject to GDPR, to the corporate information, to emails, to drives. Yeah. I see more and more companies hiring people and promoting people based on algorithms and decisions of algorithms. And I am very concerned when this decision is just remaining within the hiring realm of CTO, and when HR have less and less to say about that, because these systems have lots of biases depending on which data they have been trained on. Another thing is health and well-being monitoring, yeah, like AI predicting health and well-being burnouts, but also, for example, the loyalty of the employee. Yeah, again, this is becoming mass scale, but we're not speaking about what's the effect on the agency and autonomy of the person. Yeah, when suddenly the manager is calling them and saying, well, AI is telling me you might be in the risk group. Well, it sounds a little bit like a Black Mirror and does impact their mental well-being and productivity ultimately. More and more people, without us probably realizing this, are using this AI for decision making because we're so overwhelmed most of the time, yeah, that we just want AI to take the moral responsibility. AI just said so, yeah, AI recommended me this. AI knows better. Well, but who has the responsibility? Again, from the anecdote I shared with you in the beginning, more and more people using chatbots, not those approved by the company, yeah, those freely available for guidance, for anything. And often this guidance can be very, very misplaced. AI can also be used for coaching by leaders, for example, and there are some cases when it's good, but also do you have visibility around it? Do you know how to instruct leaders on what to ask, what not to ask AI? And more of us will be working with AI as team members, and that's already happening. Katie, Carrie, anything that you see in your work?
I'm definitely seeing AI as a team member coming up a lot. A lot of my clients work with copywriting and content creation, and it's become a key part of that team. And not because they've not got the training in how to use it properly. What I tend to be then coming into is a leader, say, who's got a team who's creating using AI, but then they're not actually seeing the kind of content that's going out that's been created by AI. And then that's actually having an issue of trust then with the audience. And so we've got quite a lot of different things going on there, but there's just sort of handing over the job to the AI without really like guiding it properly. It's becoming quite an issue.
Yeah, we're using AI a lot in our agency, but we invested a lot in training the 4 senior leaders in the team to make sure that we're kind of really clued up. And we're at a point now where we're kind of pulling together our policy and making sure that we're not using it to replace critical thinking. And it's a tool. One thing that's come up recently, actually discussing this with people in our community at work, is that some young people that are joining our clients' organizations are really over-reliant on AI to the point where they're using it so well to communicate in terms of written content, but actually when it comes to in-person interactions, they lose all their confidence. And what's really interesting is the client I was speaking to yesterday was talking about actually having to use AI to help the younger people find their true voice. And maybe it's not from written content if they don't have a lot of original content that they've written, but voice notes, and really kind of helping to create an AI tool that's not a crutch, but it's a really interesting intersection, I think, especially with communication. And I think those of us that grew up without smartphones, I think we feel we have our solid skills and foundations to rely on. But I think for a lot of young people growing up with this, we're going to see more so that they might struggle with active listening or responding in a situation with another human being. So I think we're going to have to do some problem solving around that.
I absolutely second that. I think for younger people, I can share my experience. I was hiring somebody as a course assistant, I think, and I have inserted like 2 situations when, like, what would you do, for example, like, like there is a call and the professor didn't show up. We should take about 2 minutes to respond. I think out of 40 resumes I had, I think 38 have copy-pasted ChatGPT answers without even editing them. To which point I'm saying, well, okay, but who am I paying? Should I just get a premium version of ChatGPT for 200, or like, what's the whole point there? Let me see, like, if you work in the organization, which of these AI-related changes do you feel will have the biggest impact, or maybe if you work with organizations? Some of these trends started happening in 2025, and they're going to scale in 2026 big time. Yeah, in 2025 we started seeing some of them. 2026 is when everyone is going to do this. Especially the biggest one that I see like is going really big. I mean, like, hiring already happened 2025, but like it is a new normal. And interviewing, health and well-being, it's at this peak. AI agents is going to be like really growing like that. So in the organization you work for, maybe if you're a freelancer, you're familiar with, what do you see? Where do you think is going to be the biggest impact? And when you're thinking about this, and if it's other, then write in the other. What I want you to reflect upon is, are you ready for this? As an HR professional, as a helping professional, as a leader, as somebody who wants to work with leaders, who is working with leaders, are you ready to support them with that? Because all these trends are actually, our conversation is how to be digital well-being leader. Well, all these trends are directly related to digital well-being because they directly impact stress. They directly impact autonomy and locus of control. We were just studying, Katie has been at the call last week about internal and external locus of control and how internal locus of control, so when you feel in charge of what's happening, yeah, you can impact that, is actually one of the best predictors of well-being and productivity. So what happens when AI is deciding for you? Yeah. What's happening with the trust? What's happening with the quality of communication with younger generation or with emotional well-being of employees? The way companies are using artificial intelligence will determine whether technologies will be supporting employees or becoming the point of tension. Right now, I see them as a point of tension, big time. And digital well-being is not a trend, it's actually a new professional field and a leadership edge. I will share the results.
Yeah, I gave a workshop a few weeks ago, and this aspect of agency, I think, was the biggest piece for everyone to come away with, because everyone's a little, just feels like they're having to figure out AI for themselves. And it was interesting, that poll at the beginning, that we're not getting that guidance from leadership. So I think like having digital well-being is just, it's beyond important at this stage, in my opinion, for everyone to then feel like they can deal with this.
Thank you. Absolutely. I mean, I keep writing on LinkedIn that we have a digital well-being crisis, you know, like after I heard the interview by Boris Johnson, UK's ex-prime minister, who was saying like, oh my God, ChatGPT is so wonderful. It makes me feel so great. It tells me I'm so smart. Like, oh gosh. If we have senior leaders who are like looking at how UK can become like one of the most powerful AI states making these claims, and we're in a big, big trouble. Sorry if there is any fan of Boris Johnson here.
There was I put an article into a submission for like an online magazine, and I got some really great constructive feedback back, and I wrote back and said thank you for that. And the lady, the editor, wrote back to me, and she was like, oh my God, thank you so much for taking the criticism, because the amount of emails I'm getting from people being angry with me. And I thought, like, is that because AI has become so sycophantic that people can't then take criticism? Yeah.
Definitely. And again, like what's going to be the effect on the workplace? So from what we see from people here attending, they see probably the biggest trend will be AI as a virtual team member or personal advisor. And change on team culture and human interactions. Yes. And I would rather really love this one to become like the topic of the conference. Look, if anyone has any impact on any conferences in HR, please write this to organizers. Like, I just see like people pitching their AI solutions. I haven't seen any single talk or meaningful panel about speaking about like how is this changing the culture. And I think we need to be screaming about it everywhere, let alone education. That's another pain point. So the good news is, while we have the challenges, it also means that it's offering us opportunities, right? It's offering us opportunities to step in as digital well-being leaders, right? And in fact, digital well-being, as I will show you now, is the absolute key to people's health and productivity. Some fascinating stats I collected for you today. As I mentioned before, a study that was done in Barcelona, that almost 95% of employees respond to professional communications outside of their working hours. And we do have research showing that this raises cortisol, the stress hormone, right? This affects their loved ones. We know that 77% of UK employees find notifications from workplaces, from workplace digital tools a distraction. Yeah, including AI, and almost half of them are actually irrelevant. Distractions can cost up to 581 lost working hours per person annually. Yeah. And understanding what's the impact of AI is actually a competitive advantage to somebody who wants to lead, yeah, in the digital age. Let me see if there's. How do you feel about digital distractions yourself? And the team's productivity. Carrie, Caddy, do you feel the impact of digital distractions in your work?
Oh my God, all day long. But I was just thinking that when we switch to a 4-day week, we commit to doing 100% of the work for 100% of the pay and benefits in 80% of the time. So productivity and managing distraction was really key to that. And I developed from your program, developed a few mini kind of lunch and learn sessions, because I thought I can't just expect my team to understand that they must not respond to work communications outside of working hours, that they shouldn't have their smartphone on their desk, and the drain that has on what they're working on. So putting a few things together and investing just a bit of time in teaching them about what digital well-being is, how to manage distractions in a very distracting sector, not to multitask, how to plan their time, and most importantly, deep work sessions. We learned about Cal Newport from your course, and getting rid of all distractions to give themselves this headspace and bandwidth for real focus, because then we're only able to make the 4-day week work. But even if there's a business here that is working 5 days a week, you know, the not only the output of the team can be more if they're managing distractions, but they're going to be, so their well-being will be looked after as well, and they will be more engaged and more motivated. So I think the managing distractions was one of the biggest things that we invested in to really help people do their work well.
Thank you. I want to build a bridge here between AI and distractions, because maybe it was not obvious for people. When we have AI, did you notice how much digital noise we're starting to have over the last 2 years? Like if you open LinkedIn, do you see like how much? Can I use the word shit here? How much bad content we have now? Very similar content, right? We already had lots of communication. Now with AI, it's not going to just triple. It's going to grow geometrically. Yeah, everything. Marketing, please talk to me about social media, because I'm not an expert in that, but marketing is becoming so sophisticated with algorithms. It means that your attention is going to be captured everywhere. So distractions are only going to be growing. For me, it's leadership and skill number 1, to teach people to manage their attention.
But this is starting young. So when I went into a school recently, their biggest issue was all of their young people have Microsoft Surfaces in schools. And so they're in a class and they are checking email, they're being distracted by what are meant to be school tools or things, but it's throwing all of the teachers out. So they were like, this is the problem we need to tackle the most, because people just, you know, the children are distracted just by being connected to the internet. So yes, very important.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, it was already Gloria Mark who was saying that people are switching tasks. I think the latest research was from 2021 or something like that. Like every, I forgot, 42 to 50 seconds, something like that. And if you think about how we're using AI, right, we actually, instead of doing deep thinking ourselves, we are more and more interacting with the AI, giving it very important tasks. Yeah, and then what's left for the team members. So this is a very, it's time management. I would politely disagree. I think it's attention management. I think it's very difficult to manage your time when there are so many things. And an important thing, AI right now is being sold by most of the tech companies as a tool that will help you manage your attention, your time. Yes, partially it's true, because you manage to do more, like more things in a faster way. But there is a trick. Yeah, there is a paradox here. It's called Jevons paradox. And the paradox is, it was actually studied on the oil companies, but the essence is like the more free time it's creating for us, or like the more surplus of oil, actually the more we're going to spend this time on even more on more tasks. So this is why the second essential skill, apart from attention management in the digital age, is not to be doing more things, but to learn to slow down. I know it sounds very counterintuitive, but this is the number one thing, not to be doing more and faster. Yeah? But I think that the leaders who will learn themselves to slow down and to really prioritize what's important. Maybe delegate some of the things to AI, but most importantly, AI does not solve the problem of when you're doing 100 things you don't really need to do. Yeah, you're just starting to do those things much faster. Carrie, do you have any insights about leaders slowing down?
I was, funnily, just before I came to the meeting room for this call, I was chatting with some of the team in the office and reminding them we need to move around, like stand up, get away from your screen every hour. And these are only things that I've learnt, a few years ago. But if we as leaders are just sat at our desk, constantly working, eating your dinner while still doing emails, this is setting that example to the rest of the team. And I feel very lucky that I've learned everything that I've learned about digital well-being, because I can remind people, go for a walk, take 10 minutes away from your screen and give them the space to do that without thinking that they're slacking off. And I realized, just today, talking about it with them, it's like, I'm going to do a refresher in January, because we've had new team members joined who haven't learned the digital wellbeing things we've done. And I need to make sure everybody is looking after themselves. But that comes from the top.
Mm-hmm. Katie, your perspective on slowing down.
Yeah, I mean, I in terms of adults, I work with people who are in the well-being space, and they're quite good at managing their energy like that. But what I felt to share was one particular author that I work with. She was saying about like AI, it actually makes her feel more overwhelmed because of how many options it's always giving her. So she's got a little bit of ADHD as well. So to her, it makes her feel completely panicky and makes her want to stay away from it. So, I mean, I do a lot of helping coaching through the body when it comes to their digital use. So, exactly what Kerry was saying about going for a walk, taking a break. I actually have my yoga mat next to my desk so that I take breaks and do some stretches. But I think we all have to lead by example in that way, in whatever leadership position we're in. If we're using digital, I mean, even slowing down so much that Instagram has come off my phone, because so we have to lead by example in so many ways, I think, that helps us all to slow down.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great question. I think it's actually a good timing to ask it from Franca. Digital well-being leaders alongside their careers in social media, as in, do you incorporate principles you've learned in the workplaces? Do they charge for their digital well-being services? I guess maybe if you want to mention like how you're using and like promoting working with social media using the digital well-being principles, what's different? Because just of like an important, it's the same for digital marketing. It's one of the fields where people burn out fastest. I think the rotation is incredible, especially young people. 2-3 years is, I think it's a maximum they usually stay in these roles. So what do you do to preserve your own kind of well-being and that of your team, and the second part is how do you promote it, like the more mindful usage of social media for the clients? If I understood your question correctly, Franca, if not, correct me.
Yeah, I'm happy to go on this. I mean, having worked in social media for 20 years, I've found it really important now to really choose my platforms. So I create content in long form, and I try and also advised my clients, where I'm still advising in social media, that we're moving to a long form format because they can produce it differently, they can schedule it differently. Like scheduling content's a huge one, I would say, as well, for managing social media, because so many people would come to me and they're just doing it on the fly and then feeling constantly behind. So it's like, how could we put systems in place? How can we choose the kind of content that we're creating that helps to slow the internet down? Because rather than speeding up and creating all the kind of content that hooks people's attention, which was sort of being driven by the industry to do, it was almost like being like the anti-social media by choosing content that did the opposite, that people would take time to actually read. And so I've practiced that myself. I've come off Instagram, I've come off Facebook, which as a social media person was quite a risky thing to do. And I've chosen like a platform like Substack, where I only put communications out like twice a month, but it's worth reading. And taking those apps off my phone as well has been a huge thing for me.
Well, with our clients, we mainly support charities, and they are all doing good things in the world. And I called my agency Social for Good after the pandemic. We had a rebrand because I thought, being somebody that is concerned about digital well-being, you know, my daughter's now nearly 17, but at the time it's just, I had a very love-hate relationship with social media. So how do I sleep well at night doing what I do for a living? So it's only working with the good guys. And we know that the content that they're putting out there is doing, it's positive, and it's improving the social media landscape. We would never advise kind of dodgy practices, stealing attention, clickbait, just publishing too much. So we really think about what is the best use of their time. And we have a huge amount of respect for a charity's time and budget. So what can we do that's going to help them kind of move the needle, if you like, so that they can make more of a positive impact in the world? And to your point, Katie, it's true. If there's more long form content, we really lean into how can we repurpose that, rather than just adding more stuff, more content onto the conveyor belt of social that just disappears, to think more kind of circular economy. So if you have a great blog or a great impact report, we can create loads of great content from that for them, and, you know, using AI as well to help us do that. It just means that then their resources are spent kind of in the right way. So from an organization that we're advising, it's a strategic and sensible use of time and kind of ethical marketing practices. When it comes to individuals, it's what we try and do is share our knowledge of digital well-being, so that community managers, for example, that sometimes are seeing really horrible comments on Facebook posts because some people are keyboard warriors, to put it politely. But, you know, how can they manage how they're using social so it doesn't impact them negatively, and trying to give them some more awareness of, you don't have to be online all the time, and kind of, you know, scheduling time. And even to the point where some organizations, especially universities we've worked with, have really complex kind of processes and communication channels internally that are just exhausting the comms team. So we kind of even step into that field. It's like, how can we make these processes simpler for you so that everyone can enjoy doing their jobs? Because we're acutely aware that marketers burn out a lot quicker than a lot of other sectors. But yeah, that's I guess how those practices are being seen through the work that we do.
It's
Trying to make
very
the
useful.
social landscape a slightly more positive place than we left it.
Thank you. I will just add on my side, I only do one platform, LinkedIn. I sometimes just repurpose my LinkedIn posts for the blog, but just for SEO purposes. I never use AI to write text because I wanna use emotions, but I use AI and I can only like process my emotions when I'm writing. Now, what I really want to say. I use AI, however, because I'm not a native speaker, to go through my text, and I prompted just like to correct it for grammar, but not change any of my original wording. Honestly, I've tried, I'm a former digital marketer, I've tried all the ways like to increase clicks and so on and so forth. None of that works. None. I mean, like, you can, like, for one post or so, two things that work: you either pour money into it, very cynically, or you consistently speak about that really touches people. And you're not trying to make it like millions and millions, but then people start sharing it. Franca, I'm supposed to, I'm asking, is this a career pivot opportunity or another level of skill to improve well-being? That nicely leads me to my next and probably final point for this before Q&A. This is not just a career pivot, this is a pivot to creating the new world. It's not just a career. Look, I think what you need to understand is the world is changing as fast as it probably hasn't changed over the last 1,000 years. Just the other day, I saw the news that the Japanese lady married an AI persona she created, legally married. And this is becoming the new normal. And hell, it's not normal, but that is becoming acceptable. More things are becoming acceptable. What is interesting is that we kind of bought into this myth that we need to come from tech background to influence tech. And all my work is built around, no, that's not true. I come from humanities background. I'm actually a trained pianist. And then I was a journalist for many years. And then through different hoops of my career, I ended up doing what I'm doing. But what we see, for example, tech companies now hiring graduates from humanities. DeepSeek, you know, the cheap alternative, Chinese alternative to ChatGPT, for example, says that humanities is the future. Google Labs says that they're hiring people with majors in English and who have psychological skills. As, for example, major AI labs are creating AI personalities, chatbots is the next big thing, right? They actually want people who understand behavioral traits. But also, if you look, for example, at people who are already like working in this field, can be background with philosophy. Still job, by the way, open if anyone wants a job for CDI and social learning lead in Microsoft. They're looking for people who understand behavioral, how people behave online. Yeah, and who understand AI and who have ability to translate complex AI capabilities into human-centered solutions. You don't need to understand the code, yeah, but you do need to understand how it impacts people. Are you trained for that? Do you want to make 200K per year? Or this one from Bergen in Ingelheim, that's position been closed, but I think it's super interesting to see what they're looking for. Previous experience in coaching and mentoring peers by sharing knowledge and expertise in AI to foster a culture of continuous learning and innovation is strongly preferred. This includes being able to explain complex AI concepts in a way that's easily understood by non-technical team members, providing guidance and support, right? Because AI progress, yeah, depending on where it takes us, is going to define where we are. So for me, it's not just a new career opportunity, it's a whole new market where I absolutely don't see people being prepared. I would love to have thousands of organizations who start preparing these people. I don't see it. I think traditional education is not coping with that. I don't understand like what they're preparing people for. But I don't know. What about you, Kat and Carrie? What was it for you? Like the digital opportunities, like another niche? Is it like a whole new career? What was it for you?
I think for me, I went into studying digital wellbeing more as a kind of a curious individual. I didn't have a grand plan for a career change. I just thought this feels like a really important thing that I need to learn about. And actually now, a few years later, it's led to me running my business in a completely different way to support team well-being and employee engagement and productivity. And we've seen great business growth over the past 5 years. So it's definitely a part of that. It's also led to a bit of a pivot in that I've started something new on the side that will be helping other people learn the things that I've learned about digital well-being. And I'm still getting people speaking to me a year after a workshop I did at a conference saying, this has changed my life. I now don't have my phone in my bedroom, or we've created a phone jail, which was a fun activity we did to put a phone in a box and just not have it available. And and people are telling me that it's changed the way that their families interact at home. It's changed the way that they work. So a lot has happened from what it was just a real kind of a curious parent who was scared about her teenager, you know, having a bad relationship with social. It's changed my life, but it's really nice to see the ripple effect that it's having on other people.
What about you?
Yeah, I took the course to help my own habits as much as to help my clients that I was supporting on social media. And for a long time after the course, I was integrating both. So I was teaching social media and social media management with an edge of digital well-being all weaved in and mixed in. And then in the last year, I've actually let the social media work go to specifically work in digital well-being because it's just so needed. And I got the real call to start going into schools and working with young people as much as working with adults. And so I really felt like I needed to claim this digital well-being piece aside from social media, and help educate people on what digital well-being like is. And so that's been a very gradual process. So it has led to a career change, but it has been it's taken its own journey.
Thank you so much. I guess my just last point. Oh, sorry, hold on. Wait, what am I doing? Wait. No, it's all good. My last point just before I will open the Q&A is for Carrie and Katie. Take a moment to think about what will be one tip that you could give to people who are thinking, okay, wow, that's a lot of information. It's like, where do I start? Like, what do I change in my routines, maybe in my team? Like, what can they do? Maybe like in 1 or 2 sentences. Where do you start? Because learn AI is like, okay, what do I learn? Is like it's overwhelming. There is so much information there, and we're all busy.
It is hard to know where to start because it's so pervasive in all areas of our life. But I think if I was thinking like what one thing could I do, and I was working with teams at work, it would be to get them into a space together without technology, like interacting, maybe you do a walking meeting without a phone,
Mm-hmm.
and just get them to kind of be in their bodies, in nature, doing something together, and not just like a team social in the pub after
Mm-hmm.
work, that kind of thing, because it's
Mm-hmm.
very what most teams do day to
Mm-hmm.
day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and just starting a conversation with them about what impact does that have and getting them to reflect on it. And I think that's when people experience not being with technology, it starts to make them more aware about their own habits with it. So that's maybe
Mm-hmm.
something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I'd say, yeah, for me, a lot of it has come down to intention
Mm-hmm.
and getting people, either yourself or the people around you, to see where their digital use is unintentional. And that just starts to just create like a noticing that allows things to then unfurl for them around their digital use. It's that simple. It's like, where do I not have agency with my digital use? Where am I unconscious with
Mm.
that? And like just starting there just can help things, yeah, to grow.
Great one, thank you. Well, on my side, I say if you want a structured approach that saves you time, if you don't want to be the one who's getting overwhelmed, we have something that we have been crafting over the last few years, and we change it every single time. So we have the certification program. The intake starts in January 2026. It consists of 3 levels where we'll look at behavioral change, and there are breaks in between. So we look at how the brain works, how AI is changing that, and what's the science of digital well-being. Yeah, we practice behavioral change using coaching tools, using other tools, facilitation. Yeah, we teach how to guide individuals and teams, whether you're an existing leader, whether you want to be a leader, whether you want to work with leaders. And we show also how to professionally integrate it. So how to build your business, how to give workshops, talks, and then you can go and do that. So what you get credibility in that area, thanks to diplomas approved by 2 major coaching tuition stations who do understand how to change people's behavior. And also, if you're registered with them, you get C credits. We do not pre-record content. I do not believe in pre-recorded content. The research is changing so rapidly, so there are weekly live sessions. I update every single intake, and both Carrie and Katie will be joining for the annual retake. That's free for those who already have taken the course once, because I want them to know the new what's new in the AI world. And the community is very active, yes. So, and we really share our missions, collaborate, meet when we can. We do once a year the retreats, and we do support you with helping making the first steps if you don't have experience, but you're thinking of how can I bring this either to my company or start a completely new career. Yeah. So what I want to invite everyone to do, if you're thinking about this, schedule a call with one of our advisors. It's free. It doesn't require anything from you if you haven't had one yet. You can just find out whether the program is for you or not. So it's in the chat. And if you do, after the call, want to join, then we will keep for you this price, even if you decide not to join for 2026. Yeah. So with that in mind, we're very open for any questions. There was obviously, like, we've tried to put lots of things in the this. If anyone has any questions, put them in the chat. If I miss them, please put them in the chat again. And otherwise, you can unmute yourselves and ask, but keep in mind that's been recorded. And I'm going to do the poll. I know somebody asked me in the beginning whether I still use my smartphone. I now use a minute of promo. They're not paying me, but I now use this. I don't know if you can see this. That's Modita Compact. Modita Compact. It's like, it's kind of smartphone, but not really. It has maps, and you can hack it to put like WhatsApp on it, but that's about it. Nothing else, and it's black and white. But I have used a smartphone for a few years. Actually, fun enough, because I needed to travel more because of digital well-being career, I felt overwhelmed. So that was a generous gift from friends from Modita. Thank them very much. Questions? Any questions? So interesting, we don't believe in pre-recorded content. I don't, just because in our area there is every time there is new research. I mean, I do research calls. My postgraduates know every 3 months with new things with them. Anyone else wants to mention anything? Any questions? Any questions from anyone? You can ask. Any questions about the program? Anything? How did you start getting involved in schools and education? How have you found it getting clients? Great. Katie.
It's been a little bit slow. I've been getting out there and just building my relationships with different schools. Some of those have got me coming back in. I've also been practicing material. So I've created something called the attention experiment, which I do with students, which sort of does a little bit of storytelling so that they can kind of recognize their unconscious patterns. And then I tell them about the science, and then we have a discussion about it. And so it's just like getting the word out. And as schools start to see I'm doing it with another school, another starts to pick up. So it's definitely building and growing. And it's really been about the relationship building with like pastoral care teams. And I've got a lot of schools now have well-being teachers. So building relationships with them, but it's super rewarding. So yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot.
Carrie?
I have a huge respect for Katie for working with children. I feel I don't quite have the expertise. My only expertise is being a mum. So I have decided with my limited time, I'm focusing more on adults, because as we all know, children learn from adults' behavior and as well. So I'm like, I'm glad that other people are working with children, but I'm thinking with adults, if we can get them modeling good behavior in front of their kids, it's that kind of approach. So I don't have experience working in the education system yet.
There is a follow-up question for you, Carrie. I like the putting the phone in a box idea, but how do you keep in touch with your teenager when they're out and about, or do you only do the box when everyone is back in?
That's a good question. I dare not be in touch with my teenage daughter, but we use the box, we call it phone jail, and it's something that we have at work actually rather than at home, because we've kind of have good practices at home where if we're having dinner or watching TV together, we tend not to have our phones. And I'm glad that I got some good habits in my family before they became too embedded. But we have an old MacBook box, and we drew a jail on it, and sometimes we'll just say, let's all send our phones to jail. And the phones will go into jail. They're not on your desk. They're not distracting. So it's more something that you can use at times that you feel like it's good to do that. So it's not something, I don't have phone in a box all the time, you know. I hope that helps explain.
Cool. One last question, and then I will let everyone go. Can you share how coaching and consulting work together to make an impact on digital wellness? Is one modality more called for than the other? I will answer from my perspective. Karen, Caddy, would love to hear you. What I find is people never look for a digital well-being coach because they have no idea what it is. What I find is people never look for a digital well-being trainer or educator because they have no idea what this is. People come to you with a problem. The problem sounds pretty much similar, whether they're from India, United States, United Kingdom, Iceland, and whichever other country, which is stress, overwhelm, not productive, AI skills, creative block with their creatives, conflicts in the family, that's a family, children stuck on their screens. What is behind that is what we're teaching at the CDI certification, because there can be about 1 million different things behind that, right? So what we do usually, what I do in my work, I don't do one-on-one coaching anymore. What I do is like, I have a reputation already, so I don't look for my clients. Clients come to me, usually it's companies. They come to me, they usually come for asking for a talk just because I've built my online presence as a speaker via 2 tech talks, because I like it. I like being on the stage. Doesn't have to be that way. Yeah, but it just happened. So they usually come for a talk. I usually say, okay, like there is a talk, but I also would do some research for you, because then the talk can be tailored to your needs. And then based on this research and the talk, which we call the awareness session, let's talk about what intervention we can make. And this is a time will be, okay, if you want behavioral change, consulting doesn't work. For some reason, people don't like when you tell them what to do. Maybe somebody likes, but for some reason, most people don't. So this is a time to bring in coaching. Yeah, so the awareness and kind of entertainment and will be like the part of like the consulting speaking. Then behavioral change, especially on the team level, yeah, will be the coaching bit. I think combination works best. Katie, Carrie, your perspectives on that.
Yeah, I mean, it is the combination. I completely agree with everything that you just said about people not knowing what a digital well-being coach is. And so what I tend to find, it was a brilliant part in the course where there was some research that had come out that coaching through the body was having the longest lasting impacts. And so I've really taken that and run with that. So I do quite a lot of somatic work. So I get people doing like breaths work and journaling and a lot of like storytelling and questions. So it's with information weaved in. So there's almost consulting mixed with coaching, and I'm finding that's having the best effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for me, it was quite challenging because I've been a consultant in marketing and comms for 15 years. So I get paid to tell people what to do because we're expert at this. But yet when it comes to digital well-being, I don't believe that we would create any positive impact if I just said to my team, don't check emails after work, don't have your phone on your desk, don't sit for 4 hours at a time without moving. People need to understand why and what the benefit is to them, I think, in order to kind of change that behavior. So the coaching techniques I learned with CDI, even though I don't coach in my day-to-day work, have been so useful in helping my team kind of get more awareness, and the workshops that I've done through 24/6, sharing research, helping people have time, or giving people the space to just reflect and talk to other people about their digital behavior. I feel those coaching techniques just help to spark something that people can then go on and have their own kind of behavior change journey. And there's a great network of coaches within CDI that people can work with after I've done that initial spark.
Sorry, one very quick last question, and we're gonna wrap it up. Certified coach, says Urmi, and a somatic therapist with over 20 years of experience. Congratulations, we need more of you. Would you still suggest that taking the full course is the best option? So for anyone who is a professional coach or like an expert, look at these things. Are you qualified? Do you have the tools to deal with that? If the answer is no, join the course. Or if the answer is not, maybe, because unfortunately, technology is changing everything. It's changing the body. Yeah, it's changing even the coaching itself. Like, it's been more and more replaced by AI. We did have, like, if you're certified within ICF system, we did have even MCC, like the highest level of coaches joining the program, and still find it very valuable, because we combine lots of new theory with specific, like, how you apply this, yeah, to every level. In any case, whether you're joining the course or not, I want to encourage here everyone. Look, we all we're living one of the most important. We're lucky, and also scaringly, to be living through one of the most important transitions in the life of humanity. Hopefully, we won't screw it up. That's a fantastic opportunity. Don't miss it. Seriously. Please, like, if you're telling yourself you're too busy now, like with your whatever schedule sessions or so, essentially, like, there is a gold rush happening, right? And you're like too busy, you know, like, I don't know, cooking your potatoes. This is the scale of that. Find the way to get into this, one way or another, right? Like, we offer the shortcut. We have the experience. We distilled information for you. We know what works, what doesn't work, and we know what the market looks like. Are we the only ones? No.
We've lost your audio, Anastasia.
You lost. Hello.
Oh, and now
Yeah.
it's back.
Yeah. Now, what I'm saying is, like, we're definitely not the only ones, but we are the shortcuts with all the experience. There are many other ways. Yeah, I've shared with you different career journeys, but don't lose this opportunity. I really believe we need more voices. Yeah, I really don't want Sam Altman to be the only one who is deciding how 8 billion people on the planet are going to live. Yeah, so please start stepping in. If there is something that moved in you, yeah, for over the last hour, please start doing something, whether it's making a post, whether it's like having a little workshop for the children in your school, whatever it is. Thanks, everyone. Huge thanks to Carrie and Katie for taking time and for sharing your experience. Okay, and everyone will have the recording so you can catch up with that. Have a good one. Bye.